Hey everybody, welcome back to the Red Paw Podcast. Excited to have you with us this week. As you'll see, it's just not me and Doc this week. We have another guest speaker. So we're
What's
going to
going
introduce you
on?
to Phil. Phil.
How's everybody doing? What's going on?
Thanks for joining us today, man.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Good to have you. Let's talk a little bit about you and why we're having you here. Phil's one of our dear personal trainers here locally in the Bluffton, Hilton Head, South Carolina areas. He takes care of a lot of people, helps them stay on par with regards to their health journey. And we wanted to talk to him a little bit about what he does, get to know him a little bit. So tell me a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into the training lifestyle?
Well, I kind of grew up with it. I was an athlete, but I have always had an obsession with training and fitness. And I think one of my first memories was actually going to a drive-in movie theater and watching Conan the Barbarian. I was like three or 4 years old. So no, it's always been a thing. And I actually my undergrad was in political science, and I had a concentration in international politics. And I thought that I was going to go on to be an attorney or what have you, but I was always obsessed with. You could never get me out of the gym.
Okay.
And anybody who's known me over my life, I've always been a gym rat. So to actually have a career and help people, with fitness, it's really it's just what I do naturally. It's what I was supposed to do. So it's pretty cool.
I love it. I've always been told by everybody, and honestly, that's a lot of the reason I do Red Paw, is you're supposed to do what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And when you're passionate about something, it's not work anymore. It's something you enjoy.
No, 100%. 100%. Yeah. If you're doing something that you absolutely love, it's not work. I live on the south end of Hilton Head. I'm 2 miles from my operation. When I'm not working, I have to remind myself, like, dude, you're not on vacation. This is where you live, so it's still magical. I've been down here in the Lowcountry for, I think, about 21 years. Okay. And, every day is a blessing. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Good stuff. So let me ask you this. What types of clients do you typically work with?
Okay. So I feel like I'm almost like a total practitioner when it comes to my approach. I don't really get too deep in the weeds by just trying to focus on one niche, because I just love people so much, right? Mm-hmm. Right now, my client list will look like a girl who's coming in who's preparing to become a D1 tennis athlete. I have an Etchberry tennis certification. He was the strength athlete and trainer behind Pete Sampras and Jim Courier. So I have a lot of sports specific, but because I was a competitive bodybuilder for so many years and I beat my body up and I had so many different injuries and I had to come back from so many different injuries, a lot of my clientele will be, men who hurt themselves in a sport, or maybe they have a back fusion and they need to learn how to train within, the limitations of a surgical procedure, but they still want to feel good, they want to look strong, but they don't want to injure themselves. Mm-hmm. So being able to continue to train at a strong level, but also avoid any more impact on joint. I think that's something that I've really kind of created a little niche for myself on the south end of Hilton Head.
I love that. And, obviously being that we're a resort area that a lot of people end up retiring in,
yeah,
it seems like there's quite a bit of need for that, because obviously as we age, we're more prone to injury. So it sounds like you're in a perfect place for taking care of people and keeping them strong for a long time period.
Well, Hilton Head's also a great database too, and it's been a really an amazing place for me to learn. Because my longest standing client, I've trained him now for just under 15 years. He's a world class competitive tennis player. So it's like, it's like I can see somebody who plays at that level that often, and now he's 63 years old, and it's like I'm like, I've got like a over a decade of training him and seeing what injuries he had to work with, so then I can use that information for the 40-year-old tennis player who's
Right.
now here on Hilton Head, who has the thought to, play for another decade or
Right.
whatever. So it's been a great database for me to kind of collect information.
Yeah, that's
It's been
awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So a little while ago, you and I had the opportunity to meet. What were your first thoughts when I approached you with Red Paw?
You know what? I'm always looking into. I'm on the south end of Hilton Head, and I'm blessed to be in that location. So I have, clients that have very high expectations. They want value. They want, they want to feel like they're training with the absolute best. So there's been times where I've had to make different investments in my practice. So when I saw red light and the ability to actually have mobility with red light, did not even know that was a thing at that level. I've seen the face mask, what have you, and when you explain to me the difference between the topical red light and then the intramuscular red light, I'm like, I could think of 5 of my clients who would really appreciate that I had made an investment in my practice, which is actually making an investment in them. So, when you have, a wonderful lady from Wexford who sits down and she talks about, her client, her training session in Cabo, and he had this amazing Theragun, and she's booking, 20 sessions a month. You can't go, all right, well, I'm not going to have a Theragun for you yet. I'm going to go to Best Buy and buy a Theragun because it's like, I want her to have everything that she wants out of her training right here on the south end of Hilton Head, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm glad that you're able to, take that experience to them. So I appreciate your honesty there.
Yeah.
Were you at all skeptical when we talked about it at first?
No. I Even though we had never spent a lot of time here on the island or in Bluffton, I kind of knew that you were an upright dude, and uh, to get into a project that's local and with people that I'm familiar with. I'm always bombarded because of my social presence online. I'm always bombarded by companies, in my message box from different parts of the country. Like, I'm never going to meet these people.
Who is this
like,
person?
They've got all these, and it's like, okay, I'm familiar with Nate. I know that red light is beneficial. Did not really know much about intramuscular red light. I'm really into that. I know that for myself, I have bicep tendinosis that I feel like I need to, bring, another mode of recovery. And I wanted to try red light, which has been very successful.
Excellent.
I do, red light and the Theragun like every other day. And there's times where if I overuse my left arm, this bicep tendon gets really, really tight. I'll just literally just sit back when I get home, and I'll take the Theragun and I'll go right into the tendon, and then 5 minutes of red light, right into the tendon, 5 minutes of red light, and it really just helps with relieving the bicep. It puts it at ease, and it stops locking up.
Nice.
But, yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, I'm glad I could help you out.
No. I use it all the time. Actually, when I was driving over to the island, Alyssa was using her the red light for her client. She was doing a Pilates session. A lady named Tay, who's like 84 years old.
Oh,
And I
wow.
mean, she's got the mobility of like someone in her 50s. So. Yeah, so I mean, I think it's if it looked like a great investment, it looked like it would be a great addition to my practice, and it has been.
Well, excellent.
So,
I'm glad that
yeah.
you're not only getting great use out of it. I'm glad that it's elevating what you can offer others. That's
Absolutely,
amazing. I
yeah,
love it.
sure.
So walk me through a typical session with your workouts with regards to at what point do you actually integrate the red light? And just in case, and if anybody's wondering, I'll just hand it over to Phil. But this is the unit we're talking about right here, the Red Paw unit. At what point do you start to integrate that into your sessions that you're dealing with?
Well, for instance, today I have a bud who has a neck and upper shoulder inflammation right now. So at the end of the session, about 8 minutes prior to the end of the session, I'm back in my cool down room, and he takes off, his top shirt, and basically I'm taking a Theragun, and I'm thorogunning the top shoulder and neck as I'm doing the red light
Okay.
on one side, and then I would vice versa do the other side. And I mean, Randy really enjoys that. He feels like it's helping with relieving that inflammation. But yeah, I'm really kind of fusing the red light with Theragun,
Mm-hmm.
and my clients, they're really loving it. So
I think anytime you get any kind of deep penetration, adding red light to it just makes sense.
yeah, so
100%.
I'm not really implementing it in the front end of the training. It's usually something like a post recovery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about when you know you're going to have an intense training session, perhaps
Warming up.
moving that session around a little bit so that they can try it beforehand to see what the results might be?
I have not experimented with that yet, but I'm open to it.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm open to
Give
it.
that a shot and let us know, because here at Red Paw we love hearing feedback. Obviously on the back end it's working for you great, and I love that.
Yeah.
But I'd love you to try it out on the other side, see if it works there.
Yeah.
If you don't know, you don't know, right?
Right. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
But okay, well, excellent. That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit, Doc. We'll move it over to you. Why does using red light during movement make sense? We talked a little bit about that here. I want to hear your thoughts.
If we were to talk about the benefits of something that has a whole body approach or a spot treater, okay, movement is going to have what, of course, in fitness you experience restrictions, and if Phil, I would recommend where those restrictions are going to be later, warm them up if you want to call it warming them up. But I would call it releasing them, especially you have a deep treater like we have here instead of a super, a skin treatment. And you know where the main trigger points are going to be, right? They got the hips and the shoulder, and possibly, for you, the bicep and stuff. While you're in the car on the way, warm it up, Trigger points. If there's a trigger point where you're using the Theragun. If there's a chronic pain, a joint, for yourself, for most people, knees are the right shoulder. It's a big chronic pain. Get that sucker, get that joint, the muscle, all that stuff warmed up. If there's an injury, if you're working, how many tennis players, all of a sudden have, tennis elbow or something. Definitely before the session and after the session. And then get them a unit to do at home. Whole body treatments are a luxury, and I've focused on the whole body session since I started in my practice here. Of course, with posture and alignment and moving better. So as far as wherever you think there's going to be a pain center, that's where we're going to pre-treat it. If there's a chronic injury, I would certainly do it before the workout session.
Okay.
Because it's going to create. It's not just about inflammation. You want to modulate the inflammation. You want to reduce the oxidative stress, improve the circulation, get the nerve flow functioning. The shoulder and the neck, while you're doing that, that's going to improve what we call acuity, the ability to see that tennis ball coming and execute that movement. So those are just some of the basics. Neck, breathing, rib restrictions, low back pain. How many people don't have low back pain? Not very many.
Yeah.
So, warm that, I don't know how you're going to do that necessarily in a fitness routine, but definitely spot treating that low back. Herniated disc, if they have a history of that. Chronic degenerative disc disease, which is more common than herniated disc. Most of the low back pain isn't actually a herniated disc. It's degenerative disc disease, joint pain. Their discs are in the middle, and there's 105 joints in the spine. Those are the joints, just like your elbow or whatever, are going to ache. And so get those guys deflamed, ready to move, get the nerve functioning going. So a whole package, all in one thing, very safe. Very few. The only contraindications are if there's an acute, an open wound or something like that. Yeah. So wherever you want to use it well, and then get telomeres, get all that mitochondria function going, and so.
It's interesting. I love what both of you had to say on that. We're not far past the 4th of July, and I work out every day in one way or another, whether it's a short workout or something. I try to get some kind of activity in that I can count it as a workout. I don't overdo it because I don't want to overdo it, but I make sure that I'm active. And for July 4th, I had seen a post that one of our local fitness facilities was doing a 24-hour flag run.
Oh, nice.
I saw that
And,
flag
yeah.
running by right here. Yeah, I saw the flag running by.
And so I was like, I'm going to call them and see if they mind if I drop in and do that. That's pretty cool. I like that. Don't let the flag touch the ground. Let's respect the flag a little bit. Let's do this 24-hour flag run for, everything it stands for. And, so I came and I was I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit worried because I haven't ran more than a mile in one setting in more than 2 years. Yeah. And so I was like, so to do that, it requires doing 6 miles in one stint.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I haven't done more than, well, here we go. Let's give it a try.
Oh, damn.
So I showed up. My stint was at 10 o'clock at night. And I showed up and I brought my little handheld with me, the Red Paw, and I put it on my hips. I put it on my lower back. I put it on my knees. Anything that was going to have to do with that might tense up during that run. And I did it before I even got going.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And, it's interesting with what Doc talked about. There was a lady that was there, and I got talking to her because she saw me warming myself up. Mm-hmm. And she said, "What's that?" I said, it's a red light therapy unit. This is my Red Paw that, I said, would you like to give it a try? She said, well, I have sciatica. Would it help with that? I said, most definitely. Mm-hmm. Put this on your lower back for 10 minutes before we get going and calm those nerves down. Mm-hmm. It'll help you get through the run. And when we got back, I talked to her a little bit, and she said, I haven't run in a long time because of my sciatica, because I always have problems when I do, but I wanted to do this flag run. She said, I'm not even feeling that sciatica right now.
Oh, wow.
And that was just her testimony. I have nothing to do other than that,
But keep in mind, it's not just the simple thing you bought. That's you advertise. This is a very special deep treater. That's what I call a spot treater. We got the bed in my chiropractic office here, our clinic. I use a class 4 laser. You need that power to be able to reach. Yeah. These pads and things, the bed will do a whole, 25,000 joules in 10 minutes.
It's pretty powerful.
And I have special ones at each end, one for the brain and one for the neuropathy.
Oh, wow.
But this is a one that can reach. And for that sciatica, for all y'all runners, it's not just, do the neck first, do top down. Okay. You got to get this all, get the low back then. And then the hip bursa, in particular, between the feel around the back of the femur to the tailbone, right in there, particularly on the left. Even though you feel in the right. If there's a right, there's a left. There's a front and a back, and the top and the bottom, and the inside and out. So you need something like this, and especially for a fitness routine where you need time is important. You need to have something that's going to get it done in a 50-minute session.
I do hours.
Session, a 60-minute session. You need something that's going to accomplish the task quickly. And, while you're working with the, your massager, you can do put it up, just leave it on the neck, and then do down here, So it's very mobile. I personally think right now on the market, I have a lot of spot treaters that don't work. Okay. I have a lot. Now I have some ones that are really good too. Okay. But they're not portable. Okay. Right. They're not portable. And this is currently, in my opinion, the hottest spot treater I've seen for everybody
yeah.
So thank you, Nate.
Yeah, no. I'm just glad to work with the people. With respects to myself, I was grateful because I was scared to death of how I was going to feel. I thought I was going to feel like I got hit by a truck, and
how'd you do?
I was up and walking the next day. I was feeling good. So. I'm not gonna lie. A 6 mile run for somebody who's not used to running 6 miles. That's a lot.
That's distance.
But I felt good. I was able to move around. I was mobile. I could definitely feel that I ran 6 miles, but it was nothing like what I would have had I not helped myself prior. And I even did it after the run too.
Yeah, but that's great that you just didn't overthink it. You're like, I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out. Figure it out when we get to it.
Sometimes you just jump in, right? Yeah. But it's interesting. One of the thoughts that that's coming to my mind from earlier when you and Doc were talking a little bit about the mobility aspect. I love that you're doing it after the workouts, but think about this. If they have a problem spot in their body and they're restricted during your workout, what's that going to do to your workout?
What's the word?
So,
what's the word? Compensations.
A lot of compensation.
So if you can tell them, get to our session 10 minutes early because I want you to utilize red light on your spot area before our session.
That's actually a good idea. Yeah,
it'll loosen them up and allow them to get a little more fuller mobility.
It's a common, very, very common that of all of my weightlifters, there is one anterior delt that is flamed up. So right now my guy Timmy Boy, his right delt's flared up. So that's a good thought. Like he's spending at least a half hour on the bike before I actually get to him. I mean, I could say, hey, jump off of that bike.
Get some red
I'll
light.
have my red light, on the bar. Get that red light in the shoulder for at least 5 minutes right before we start up.
There you go.
That could help because I do my best through I'll implement a lot of TRX movements and band movements to kind of get the joints moving prior to just kind of preparing them for load. But yeah, I think that would be very helpful.
So
and the anterior delt, right, and the pec, right?
Yeah.
But what's on is underneath that is the ribs.
Yeah, right.
So if this rib is restricted, tight, or has a trigger point or whatever, or not having, I call it functional range. And my goal is to accomplish maximal functional range.
Yeah.
It's the other side. So for all you guys using the Red Paw deep treater, come over here to the left subscapularis. That's the second most common trigger point in the human body.
Wow.
So even though we feel the pain here, it's underneath structurally,
it's
functionally, And so this rib cage, which is going to be attached to breathing. So when you are doing that, instead of trying to stretch down, which has an inhibition effect on those tightnesses. And adding that red light therapy. So when people come in and use the bed, or when I'm doing the class 4 laser or the Cat D chair, I try to help them. I say, breathe out 5 times and pause. Because when those rib cages, when there's ribs, that rib cage goes down, those muscles can't stay tight. They have to relax. And then that red light therapy is deflaming, creating mitochondrial function, getting that microcircular circulation in there. And if they're flat bones, it's creating stem cells. So just when you guys are using this particularly good spot treater, look up and down the food chain. You know what I mean? And again, if there's a right, there's a left. And
all right.
Compensations. It goes back to, and the older you are, the more we have to protect and respect those.
Absolutely.
But it gets easier. I promise you. The more you use this, the more it'll get easier.
So Phil, obviously as a trainer, you're far ahead of the game. You're leading the way with regards to your techniques, and I love that. That being the case, do you feel that if other trainers are going to have amazing results with the people they see, do you feel they should follow suit with you? Do you feel that they should too try out red light therapy with respects to where they're going?
Well, I think any trainer or practitioner who is going to be committed to longevity is going to, invest in the necessary extensions to their business or to their practice, and whether it's a Theragun, taking the time to learn stretch therapies, going, we got to go and get recertified every 2 years. So, but with the red light therapy, I mean, I know that it's really helping me with my tendons. Unfortunately, tendons, ligaments, there's not a lot of blood flow there. So anything that can kind of like increase, like you said, the telomeres and produce stem cells. I mean, especially, I know I have a pretty good idea on my recovery because I've been, breaking my body down and recovering now for over 3 decades. I believe that we're going to have to do things like red light therapy, get better at implementing saunas and all the other ways to heal our bodies. And I tell you what, there's such a grand opportunity uh, because of all of the different training modalities that were so popular 10 years ago, 20 years ago. There is a large population of the overtrained. So
Mhm.
I don't see there being a time where people are just like, oh, I'm not. I mean, there's hurt bodies out there.
Mhm.
There's going to be a lot of people who are trying to rehabilitate shoulder injuries, a lot of torn labrums in the hips. I know for me, my dominant side is just compromised. I've had double meniscus tear and surgery in the knee. I've torn this right labrum in the right hips. I mean, yeah.
So you got
So
to
I think
recover.
I think
Yeah.
recovery when I think there's going to be no end of the population wanting to look good, feel good, and to look good and feel good, you have to continue to move and you got to continue to train. So you're going to have to implement the top technologies in order to continue to do that at a competitive level. So
Yeah.
I think if you take an aging athlete who has really put their body through the ringer and they're not doing these things, they're not going to be able to push to the distances to the body that's doing the red light therapies, that's doing the stretches, that they're doing the required warm-ups and the required cool down. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm
So,
I'm
so
obsessed with that like this is just a part of my practice as far
yeah.
as where I've come so far. Like my idea is I want to be able to do this at a high level in 10 years from now,
Yeah.
20 years from
Yeah.
now, 30 years from now.
I'm
So
61.
yeah, no, that's very impressive. Very impressive.
I remember being 46,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was in good. I'm still in great shape,
Yeah.
and I
The,
got
the,
no pain at all.
the game's changing all the
Oh
time
yeah.
though.
Well,
Yeah.
No meds,
we just got to
no
keep up with it,
pain,
right?
no meds, no need. I even you can see that scar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 5 weeks out.
Oh wow.
I'm gonna have, because I do it. I mean, I've had that bed since 2019.
Yeah.
There's going to be. Imagine if this scar heals in 5 weeks like this, and there's going to be no scar here in a couple of days, a couple of weeks. What we're doing for whatever injury you have.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, tennis play. You better do those elbows.
Yeah, for sure.
But the hips too. Golfers. A little bit
Hips. Oh my goodness.
Those
Oh,
hips don't forgive you, right?
hips,
When you have
hips.
class 4 and you're doing, I don't know, tens of thousands of visits with class 4, and you have a spot treater like this. I just did a hip last night at somebody. It's night and day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to stick with it.
Yeah.
You can't just go one. It's not and steroid shots. I see a lot of steroid shots. I see them like all the time, and it's not regenerative physical medicine.
Right. Yeah, I like that.
And it actually can
Regenerative
healing.
physical
And
medicine.
I made that up, by the way. That's my
coin that.
I'm
Regenerative.
and I went to all 3 state boards from Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. I said, can I call this as a clinician regenerative physical medicine?
Regenerative physical medicine.
It's not just putting it here. It's when you do a whole body.
Yeah.
And this is a great way to get started.
Yeah.
And then you get your other, what you called it, the muscular and then the skin.
Well, yeah, topical, then intramuscular. Yeah.
Nice way to put it. But I do joints, I do spines and stuff. So this is able to reach with the right wavelengths.
Yeah.
Not overdoing it.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't get hot.
This is right. This is right up my alley because I trained. I was a power body builder, so I trained very, very heavy for a very long time. So now I'm in a position where I want to continue to train, and there's movements that I can still do at a satisfying level, but it's all about getting the most efficient work completed, and what can create the best stimuli for my muscle growth and maintenance with the least amount of impact on joint, right?
Yeah.
But with where I am with all of the aches and pains from all of the years of training, I, you know, I'm older now. So I'm going to need, that heat. I'm going to need, different therapies to push my joints in a place to where they can still recover.
Yeah.
And I noticed that I was at a chokehold where this bicep would go. I could only get it to release and feel good at a certain point. But now that I've really been putting, cycles and 5 minutes, three times a day on this left bicep, it's
Huge
really,
difference.
it's making a big
Would
difference.
you call it a game changer?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a game changer.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I'm pretty busy, as far as like what kind of work that I still put on myself and the type of workload that I'm doing on the floor of that gym. I mean, these arms don't stop working,
Yeah.
and I mean it's and I have a 9-year-old who's he's a competitive athlete. So I mean, it's a very physical life that I'm living. So
Well, only way to keep that up is, as we've all spoken of today, is to be a step ahead of it and doing the things necessary.
get
And
ahead of it.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Yeah. So, well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate that. If you had to tell today's listeners one thing to take away from this, Phil, what would you say?
Get ahead of it.
Okay.
Get ahead of it. Yeah.
Good
All right.
advice.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Good
Excellent.
advice.
Well, recovery doesn't have to just happen before or after the workout.
Yeah.
As we mentioned today, sometimes it can just become a part of the workout. And like we said, Phil here, he's one of our local trainers in Bluffton, Hilton Head. If you need a guy that can help you stay healthy for a long time in the active world and help you as a trainer, he's one of your men to go to. You gotta reach out, let him know you're interested. He'll take you right along that journey. And I'm just proud to be working with him as a part of it.
Yeah,
So
I'll often tell my younger men who are coming up in the fitness world that it's going to be, we do the work in the gym, but you grow and you really progress by understanding how you heal and recover.
yeah,
So those who become best at recovering are going to build the best physiques, and they're going to be the most efficient, and they're going to hold that healthy physique for a longer period of time. So
Without injuries.
yeah, without
Yeah.
injuries.
Yeah, I
So
think that's
avoiding injuries. Unfortunately, injuries, it's a matter of when, not a matter of if. But hey, we've got these great technologies now that we can implement to put us back, in a place of getting stronger again. So I think this is a great product, and I see a lot of people implementing it into their training practices. I think any top trainer, who's training people who are above the age of 30, 35 years old, who are dealing with sports injuries. I mean, you got to have this in your toolbox.
Yeah. Obviously we're all on the same journey of helping people get better, and it's a privilege and honor to work with both of you fellas. But yeah, thank you for your time today, gentlemen. And until next time on Red Paw, keep well and let there be light.
Let there be light.
Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.